nervous because I'm here now.
Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell here with my co-host Glenn Martin. Really excited to get into the Ravens' victory over the Houston Texans. We are now 2-0, and we are super excited to break it down, the highs and the lows, the goods and the bads. But before we do, take a second, hit the subscribe button. Go ahead and leave us a like. Leave us your comments as the show goes on. But also, we want to give you guys an opportunity to interact more with us. Check out our Patreon in the link below. Big shout out to our Patreon so far this month. Charles Collins, our newest Patreon. Tony Thornton, of course, a big supporter of the show. And Ben Smith and TJ on a first name basis. TJ Martin,
right.
Really excited to have them. And so, guys, go ahead, like I said, and hit that link below if you want to interact with us more. But without any further ado, let's get into this game and the Baltimore Ravens victory. So, Glenn, what do you got for me?
All right, let's do it. The Baltimore Ravens go to Houston and come away with a 33-16 win, sending them to 2-0 and sending the Texans to 0-2 to start the year. Schedule makers did them no favors, as we know, taking on Mahomes and Jackson back-to-back, and it went as poorly as most expected. Let's see, getting into some team stats, the Baltimore Ravens put up a total of 407 yards, while Houston was able to put up 304. Passing yards, Baltimore put up 177, while Houston got 253. And then this is where the difference is made. Rushing yards, Baltimore puts up 230 yards on the ground, while Houston is only able to muster just 51. So I think that's where the tail of the tape is kind of shown there, is the rushing yards is what separated these two teams. So how did they get all those rushing yards, Jimbo?
Look, I kind of want to break this down here because something interesting, first of all, we had four guys that were toting the rock today. As you can imagine, Gus Edwards, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, and Lamar Jackson. But Lamar Jackson had 16 attempts today. And I got to say something. He was running for his life. They were not planned attempts, a lot of them. I'm not saying that some of them weren't, but a lot of them were him just trying to make something out of nothing. So that's something we'll get into in a little bit. But Gus Edwards, of course, had 10 for 73, averaging 7.3 a pop. And let me tell you what. He baptized a couple of them DBs in this game. I mean, it was looking – they were not excited about Gus coming downhill. Mark had 9 for 55, and J.K. had 2 for 48. Can't throw any shade on that. 2 chances to tote the rock, and you almost get a 50-piece. Yeah. So, and Lamar, of course, had 16 for 54. What was your take on the rushing attack? And the balance, is different this week, right? Like, we saw a lot more Ingram, saw a lot more Gus, I felt like. What was your take on it?
Yeah, surprised by how they used – and how they split up the carries. Very, very surprising. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised, but we just figured it was coach speak, I guess, when John was telling us that they're riding the hot hand and they don't really know who's going to be the guy that day. And, well, I guess they do, but they're not going to tell us. And yeah, just shocking to see Dobbins. Even when he did get the 2 carries, it was relatively late and really when it was really of no consequence. So surprising that they took that long to get him in the game, but not surprising at all to see Gus come in after they were struggling. Yeah, I mean, you see 9 for 55 from Mark Ingram, but I think we all remember that 30 of those came on the 4th and 1 direct snap, which he took for the touchdown. So I know you can't take runs away, but if you had, then his day would be 8 for 25. So I think bringing Gus in was smart because they had some guys that were just teeing off. I mean, we remember that guy Reed. I'm not sure of his first name, but he was making every tackle, it seemed like. And he was bringing the heat. He is not a big fella, but he was getting behind those pads, and he was laying the wood. And Gus is the only one I saw to return the favor. So I think it was smart going to Gus. He's the battering ram. He's just – I love his fearlessness. When he gets the ball, he doesn't dance. He doesn't do it. He hits that hole at 100 miles an hour, and if anyone's in front of him, good luck because he's going through you. So I love seeing Gus. This is why he's here. This is why he's on this roster. This is why they didn't trade him off in the offseason or cut him because they thought he was, redundant, I guess, in the backfield. This is why he's here, for games like this when you need a bruiser, and he showed that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he increases value. Just like you said, when everyone knows that's watching this game, the millions of viewers, everyone knows we are going to hand the ball to 35 and you got to deal with it, and he still finds success. I mean, that's got to be really gratifying for him and a real confidence builder, but also kind of frustrating because I feel like when he's put in situations to run the ball, they're the most predictable, right? Like we're up, we know the
Yeah.
defense is going to come downhill to try and stop the run, and he's still popping off 14-yarders, 11-yarders. And so shout out to Gus on that one. The other thing I just want to say really quick on JK, since we're talking about these guys, man, that play where JK turned it upfield and put his paw on the ground to stay up, did he not look like Ray Rice to you on that play?
Vintage Ray Rice.
Right? Wasn't that? I just couldn't stop. And I'm just excited for him. Of course, Ray was exciting on the field, and I think we got a lot of that in JK and then some. So that was exciting. But I also want to talk about the passing game. Of course, Lamar went off for 204 and a touchdown. He was 18 for 24. Before we move on to the receivers, what do you think of Lamar's game as a whole? And what were your takes on his performance?
I thought Lamar battled today. I didn't think the offensive line played particularly well. Certainly the right side seemed to struggle with Phillips, and Orlando had some tough matchups with JJ, as most do. But I thought that the line struggled to protect Lamar, and I thought that the receivers didn't separate like I was hoping in a lot of scenarios. I think a lot of sacks, when they would show the behind the camera view from behind Jackson, there wasn't nowhere for him to go for the ball. So he tried to make something happen, get out of there, and just couldn't as the pocket closed in on him. So I thought Lamar played fantastic for the type of game that it was. He did exactly what they needed from him to get the win, and I guess that's what we can expect from Lamar. He just does whatever needs to be done to get the win. But I'm starting to get a little bit concerned with the lack of protection he's getting, but that was a pretty tough front. J.J. Watt's a pretty unique talent and obviously multi-time defensive player of the year. So maybe it was just kind of a tough matchup for those guys dealing with J.J. and they'll bounce back. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I felt like Skura was a turnstile. Now look, just like John always says, you got to go back and look at the tape. Like, this was just us watching the game one time through. We can go back and look at it, and that might prove to not be the case. I felt like he struggled this game. And it was weird because I was more nervous about the Browns game as far as, pass protection goes and the offensive line in general because of the names they have up front. But the Texans and J.J. Watt specifically really caused them problems. I know we talked about this. Their DC likes to he likes to diversify the plays and the things that he does. So that might have had something to do with it. I don't know. I'm concerned though. My heightened level, I've come to a heightened level of concern when it comes to offensive line. Still am confused. I get it. I know we're already in the season. Still am confused why we don't put some more weight up on the line and throw Bozeman in the center and find a way to get Fluker back in there. I don't know.
I think that's I think at this point you got to
ride
the road,
right?
But what confused me is the lack of commitment to the run in the first half early on.
Yeah, that was weird, right?
Yeah, we were pretty deep into the second quarter before I saw the second run play attempted. And to me, that's just I can't understand that. When you see what the Chiefs did to the Texans just a few days before on Thursday night, where Clyde Edwards-Helaire goes for 135 yards in his debut, I really expected the Ravens to make more of a commitment early on. It seemed like they tried to beat them through the air. Now, they did make that commitment in the second half, but I feel like they just set themselves up for a lot of third and longs and set Lamar up for, a lot of situations where he had to make something happen because the fact that it wasn't, short yardage plays. It should have I don't like that they're taking too long to get to the run, man. Let's get to it a little bit earlier. Establish it early.
Maybe we need to bring all 3-5 in the game earlier.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
You know what I mean? I totally agree with that. Now let's get into the receiving core. Well, I shouldn't say the receiving core because we have a lot of other positions outside the receiving core that was catching the ball. But let's talk about some big moments there. I just want to run through some stats as far as the catching of the ball goes and receptions. So you got Marquise Brown, of course, our receptions leader, 5 receptions for 42. Boykin, shout out to Miles Boykin. We all know last year, 13 catches for 190 yards. In this game alone, he had 4 catches for 38, and I can remember 2 catches. That he had a big catch in that very opening drive, and then he had a third down catch for a first down conversion that his hands looked good. He didn't have separation like you were saying, but he was able to make the grab, use his body, create some space for himself. So I was happy to see that. Before we get into the other guys, what was your take on Boykin's day?
Yeah, I thought Boykin played very well. I think what was most impressive to me is the fact that obviously the coaches liked him enough to draw up some plays for him, because there was clearly a couple plays where he was the designed target getter, and that's awesome. That shows progression. We don't see Boykin get a lot of his number called unless it's a breakdown of a play, and Lamar's scrambling and finds him. But there was clearly plays drawn up today where he was the number one option, and they got him the ball, and he didn't disappoint. So shout out to Miles Boykin. That's what we need. We need to see more of that out of him. Still haven't seen him get an opportunity at a deep ball or a 50-50 ball. We got to see that still. But this is certainly a step in the right direction, and it's nice to see from him.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to mention too, everyone, of course, defended him in the offseason. We weren't giving him a ton of love, but just because we expect a lot out of him, not that we don't like him, but everyone defended him as blocking. He laid the wood on a couple blocks today that I was impressed with, and I was like, all right, credit needs to be given, where credit is earned, credit is due. So,
and it was funny too, when he caught one ball, the announcer mistakenly called him the tight end, Miles Boykin, which was hilarious.
Maybe a little prophetic.
Yeah, we got a lot of grief for suggesting that he may want to consider that if things don't go well this season in the next offseason, but he's showing that he doesn't have to worry about that.
Right. What about that ball? Now, he only got one reception, but what did you think about that ball to Devin Duvernay?
I thought it was
one reception, 19 yards. Looked good, right?
Yeah, looked real nice. He's got 2 early first down receptions for his career. One last week, one this week. So, yeah, I mean, it's still early for the rookies. I want to see Prochet get at least some more run on offense, but the coaches know what they're doing. It's like Roman always says, he's one of those few guys that likes to keep – well, I guess maybe not few, but he likes to keep his cards hidden. He doesn't like to show you everything he's got. He likes to trickle it out here and there throughout the year and keep them wanting more. So, yeah, I like that. But maybe the most impressive catch of the day was the shortest catch of the day. Mr. Project Pat Ricard redeeming himself after the fumble last week, making a heck of a 1-yard grab, and maybe more importantly – the bounce back up to make sure he got the touchdown after he may have been a little short at first. What do you think about Project Pat?
I'll tell you what, if he bounced up and down like his hair was on fire, like remember when you were a kid and you used to play The Ground's Lava?
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what it was like.
A Netflix show about that.
Oh, my. Yeah, I could not believe that a man that size could go up and down, just bounce, bam, and be up again that fast. I thought, first of all, like you said, the catch, as soon as I saw it, it's incomplete, went right through his hands. And he scooped under, got it.
Beautiful.
Made sure he got in the end zone. I think that that old Nick Boyle was a little envious because he ended up, he was right there on the play before.
So close, yeah.
Oh, freaking Boyle, man, he's cursed.
Yeah, well, he got one last year.
Yeah, and he almost fell over with that one too, and he was wide open. But I was happy to see that one. And like you said, I think it'll be interesting to see what Prochet does, and as Duvernay, integrates himself. The other interesting stat is the lack of stats in comparison to last week. Mark Andrews only 3 targets for 1 catch. Now it was a big catch for 29 yards, and it was a big play. We needed it.
Yeah.
But weird, right? I mean, I think it's important for us to win in a multitude of ways.
Mm-hmm.
But what was your take on the fact that he only got 3 targets?
I think it was just a clear indication that Anthony Weaver was not going to allow Mark Andrews to beat them this game. He took him away, and that's smart, rightfully so. It's clearly Lamar's favorite target. I know Marquise is his best friend, but his clear-cut favorite target and go-to guy is Mark Andrews. So, yeah, I thought it was just a concerted effort by the Texans to take him away. And, we're going to see that a lot this year until some of these other guys prove, that you can't leave them on an island. Then we're going to see Mark Andrews get attention because he's proven that you cannot guard him one-on-one with any corner or with any safety, with really anything one-on-one, because one way or another, he's going to have an advantage, whether it's height, weight, size, speed. He's going to have the advantage somewhere. So, yeah, shout out to Anthony Weaver, I guess, for finding a way to close. And really a good game by Anthony. Now, you look at the final stats, it doesn't look – but I was impressed by the way he slowed down this rate. I expected the offense to move the ball way easier than they did. So I got to give them credit for bouncing back and playing a tough game against just a tough matchup.
Now, before we move on to the defense, let's take a second here and talk about that, Glenn. You said you were expecting the offense to move the ball with more ease, right?
Mm-hmm.
Than what ended up being the case. Is that a concern? Is that like good good Texans defense or a concern for you on the Ravens offense? Because, now we're going into this Chiefs game. I'm not trying to look ahead or anything like that, but this game is over, right? Now we're reviewing this game. But coming out of this game, it was a weird win for me, right? Because I was happy that we won, and we kind of won in a different way than the week before. Mm-hmm. But I'm also a little nervous that our offense wasn't a buzzsaw like we are normally. Right. Now, should you walk me off a ledge here? Because, I was watching the game with my parents, and Mom was like, look, you're being a little overcritical. Think about what it was like. We're up by 10 and you're upset. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, we're up by 10, right? At this point in the game, we were. Yeah. So how did you feel about the offense overall coming out of this game?
Well, I think the expectations have just been set so high by the Ravens. I mean, they're kind of a victim of their own success in a certain way, because we've grown to expect Lamar to put up 3 touchdowns, no picks every game, and the running game to go for 150. That's just what we've grown to expect here. So I think it's just, I think it's just like that. They're a victim of their own success. But I will say this: I think that the offensive line still has shown that they have work to do. Yeah, they're not obviously performing to the standard that they set last season in either the run or the passing game. So I'm concerned. I look at this Chiefs front. Man, Chris Jones is maybe the second best D tackle behind Aaron Donald in the game. He's coming up. We saw what Aaron Donald just did. We saw what J.J. Watt just did. Chris Jones is pretty darn good. And then Clark on the outside, who is one of the top speed rushers when healthy. Yeah, I'm a little concerned about their ability to run the ball and protect Lamar. I think if they get back to establishing it early, it'll make the rest of it work. But when you start 3 and out, that's not good. When you start – so, I guess yes, I'm a little worried about the offensive line. But hopefully when they don't have to deal with J.J. Watt, right. It could just be a very unique talent is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I now know why Marshall Yanda immediately lost the weight. So on a Monday morning or a Sunday night after a game like this, he can't get a call from Eric DaCosta and seriously consider coming out. I can't even play. I'm 100 and whatever. He's under he's under, he's what, like 220 now or something crazy?
Yeah, he's not. He might be able to come and play fullback. We'll have to put Pat up there.
So he can't even do it if he wanted to. So now I get it, Marshall. But I agree with you. I'm concerned. If I had to put a 1 through 10, this is crazy to me. I'm probably being dramatic, but I'm at like a 7.
Wow. Okay.
I'm concerned because, like you said, the Kansas City Chiefs went through them like a hot knife through butter. Is that how it goes?
Yep. There you go. Yeah.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
But our defense, which is what I want to get to,
here we go,
stepped up and played a big game. So let's talk about the defense. Why don't you give us some team stats?
All right. So the Texans, they went. Let's see. I think I went over a lot of this stuff. I went over their team stats. So let me break down some individual stuff.
Yeah, that's fine.
Deshaun Watson went 25 of 36 for 275, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. On the ground, David Johnson had 11 carries for 34 yards, and Deshaun added 5 for 17. And then through the air, Cooks had 5 for 95, Cobb 5 for 59. Jordan Akins, 7 for 55, and then Fells, 2 for 23 and the touchdown. We talked about it in our pregame, the things we had to look for to slow down the Texans. And the one area we talked about is you got to stop the big play because we know that Deshaun Watson likes to hang onto the ball as long as he can, give the receivers a chance to get downfield and uncover. And outside of one play, they did a good job of that. Now, that one play led to points, so you don't want to see that. Of course, Cooks had let's see, I don't have the long right in front of me, but it was definitely at least a 30-yard catch from Brandon Cooks, and I think that's what the concern was. The worry was if they can hang onto the ball and get big chunk plays and get quick scores, then they could have a chance in this game. And it paid off in one play. But they weren't able to stack those. And we were worried about Fuller and Cooks, and I didn't see Fuller out there. Was he out there, Jimbo?
Nah, I think he made an appearance, but it was
because we got told he was a number 1 receiver by the gentleman,
James Carlson.
James Carlson told me he was a number 1 receiver when healthy. Well, he was healthy this game, at least we think. He didn't look like number one.
No, he made our guy out to be a liar. You can't do that, man. But hey, I'm all right with it.
Yeah, I'm not mad.
But yeah, he had 1 carry for no yards, right?
Yeah, no catches, no targets.
He's a whiz. I mean, hey, shout out to our defense. I mean, you're talking about there. We had the punch out by Marlon was awesome, right?
Incredible. Yeah,
great
football player. He is just a freaking football player. And we'll get into this later, but obviously there's a reason he was in the slot. Playing defense a lot in the second half. And while we're not happy about that, it does bring a different element to defending the run when Marlon is on the inside.
Because of that physicality.
He's just so physical, man. And you got to deal with him. When he's on the outside, you don't have to deal with him as much. But when he's on the inside, you're going to have to deal with him. If you're a tight end, if you're a running back, a lot.
Yeah, speaking of dealing with people, Deshaun Watson had to deal with Marcus Peters. I want to mention him as well. We're talking about the defense. We also had an interception. We won the turnover battle today 2-0, right? We didn't turn the ball over, unless I'm missing something. And the interception was a beauty.
Wow.
Right? I mean, to break off of his assignment and catch it over his shoulder like that. You know, he turned, lost, because the way he rotated, it's like that play that they show of Ed Reed when he knows what Peyton Manning's going to do, turns his shoulders, loses vision of the quarterback, and knows where the ball's going to be, but it happened in a smaller space.
Yep.
Right? Like he broke off his assignment, turned, lost vision of the quarterback, and still made an incredible grab. Marcus Peters, awesome.
He's got hands like a wide receiver and better than a lot of wide receivers out there because that catch, all hands, laying out, a legit layout, needed to lay out, and then hang on to the ball.
Yeah, got the hand underneath of it. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and then hold on to the ball through the contact with the ground. And you mentioned it. It was beautiful because they put a receiver in motion to obviously point out the fact that the Ravens are in man coverage.
Right.
And Watson saw that, but so did Peters, who was in coverage against the guy who just went in motion. He totally leaves and breaks off of him, and makes a gorgeous hands interception. I mean, he is incredible at doing that, dude. He's just incredible, and you're right. And Wink says it all the time, and he showed it again. He's just such a smart player.
Yeah,
you don't make that. That's not his guy. That's not his responsibility. But he just made a fantastic play, and yeah, I mean. We heard about all the bad. We obviously we saw all the good that Peters did in his previous stops. We also heard about a lot of bad. Him getting burned, him taking too many chances. Have we seen a bad Marcus Peters play?
No. All I have to say is that Rams, you can keep Ramsey and all the money.
Keep him and all that 5 times his paycheck. That's right.
We'll keep Marcus Peters, who absolutely has the best instincts in the league as far as a corner goes. Definitely. I don't think it's even close.
He might have. When it's all said and done, he might be the best ball hawk in the history of the game. If you look at the numbers he's putting up, they're astounding.
Yeah. It's not, and people might pile on you for, saying you're Homer or whatever, but like you said, it's all stats. The proof is in the pudding right there. So that's an incredible play. But what about, I know that you talked about this pregame, so you wanted to bring this up. What about the performance of our rookie, Patrick Queen?
Oh, wow. Another good one. I mean, this guy, he should have had 2 sacks. He got the one where Deshaun fell forward, so it counts as a carry, not a sack. And then the other one got called back. He looked great. I mean, he was everywhere. He leads the team again with tackles, a total of 9. He had 7 solo, 2 assisted. I mean, he's flying. He looks fast. It's impressive, man. I mean, it's surprising. I heard somebody point this out, that if you're going to be a good team in the salary cap era, you got to have rookies perform right away. And you got to have them perform well right away under their rookie deal. It's the only way good teams are good year after year is if their rookies play well. It's just it. And I don't know if there's a team that has more rookies performing well for them than the Ravens. And it's just crazy. A team with all these expectations has so many rookies performing, and yeah, he might be leading all of them as far as his performance. Patrick Queen's been phenomenal. Yeah,
that was awesome. And just to shout out a couple other guys, of course, you talked about Marlon Humphrey being a force out there. Got a half sack, had six tackles. He's playing his butt off. But Derek Wolfe, I felt like, had a good game on the defensive line. There was a couple plays that were just pure effort, getting out there and making some assisted tackles at second level. One thing I do want to mention that bummed me out a little bit. Malik Harrison only registered 1 tackle. But the most annoying part of this game, and I'm going to stand up on my soapbox for this one, all right? Sack Daddy, Jalen Ferguson, got stood up. look, everyone knows that Deshaun Watson sits back there and picks his nose, calls his girlfriend, asks her what's for dinner before he throws the football, right? So if you're known for rushing the quarterback and you are the size of Jalen Ferguson, how can a running back by himself on an island hold you off? We're talking 4 or 5 seconds. You can't do anything. I'm just referring to a play that, he was attempting to sack Deshaun Watson, and the assignment, from an offensive perspective of the Texans, David Johnson was assigned to pick him up, picked him up, and stuck him the whole time. I was so upset watching this play. His effort was
the lack of effort. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a joke to me. And then the ball goes over, Deshaun goes on the outside and he kind of trots over, behind him. I'm like, just get off the field, man.
And that's the one thing that drives me crazy is the lack of effort. It doesn't even matter if, we saw, was I bummed out when Jihad Ward got broken? But not as bad because he was trying. That was a heck of a play by Watson. He had both his arms on Watson. He somehow was able to stiff arm and get out of it. I was much more upset about Ferguson because of the lack of effort than it's like a missed shot in basketball. If you take a good shot and you miss it, I'm not going to get upset.
Right.
But if you take a bad shot, even if you make it, if I'm your coach, you're going to hear about it.
Right.
It's just lack of effort, and you can't have that of a second-year player, man. Come on.
And especially if you take drawing off your scenario, of your analogy, if you take a bad shot, miss it, and then don't hustle back on defense.
Yeah, complain to the ref. And
he got stood up by a running back and then watched Deshaun run around him and trotted.
Yep.
Like, dude, that's why I love McPhee. I mean, he's all motor all the time.
He is, and he missed a couple guys in the backfield today, but that's okay because he darted through there. I mean, look.
Right.
These guys get paid too. So if the Texans make some plays, if any opponent makes plays, you got to take that with you got to understand these guys are talents.
Yeah. What about the lack of stats from Judon too? You concerned? It's week 2.
Of course, I'm concerned. I think it's showing. I look. It's early. I don't want to overreact, but let's just call it what it is. This guy's not going to get a long-term contract if he doesn't start putting up numbers. He needs to produce. I mean, we talked about our prediction. You predicted
2 sacks out of him.
I predicted Mr. Bowser. He got 1. He got 1. That's not bad. But Bowser's got 1 in each game now.
Yeah,
Calais Campbell gets 1 in this game.
Right.
We need production. I don't want to hear any excuses in the comment section. He's getting double team. No. You got to produce. If you want to be paid as a top flight pass rusher, you got to do something. You got to put something on the stat sheet. He got 1 assisted tackle today.
That's it.
1. 0 solos, 1 assisted. That's absolutely not going to be good enough for a guy who's making $16 million this year.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And on top of that, like you said, your guy, Tyus Bowser, of course, had 3 tackles, a tackle for loss or the sack. He registered way more in the stat sheet and showed up more on the television. I mean, you noticed it more.
Pernell McPhee had only an assisted tackle, but he flashed. You saw him. You saw him.
Yeah.
Oh, it's frustrating. And people who are always, saying we don't need Clowney. Let's sign Judon. Really? Do you think Clowney would have had 1 assisted tackle and nothing else in this game? Like, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
and the only reason I say this is because I expect a lot of Judon. Okay, I like Judon. He's a high motor guy. The team, but you got to produce, man. You got to produce. All right, sorry, I had to go in, but I want to talk about the Joker, man. He's got 4 solo tackles. He gets a sack. He came in like a dart on that blitz. I thought he looked good. What were your thoughts on Deshaun?
Yeah, you know what? I love that he's playing instinctively. He's like you said, he's playing fast. He's playing physical, and he's playing fearlessly. Right? Like I love that. Just seeing a guy that's not thinking too much, and I think Chuck honestly has a lot to do with him being able to play that way, instilling that confidence in him, helping him be in the right spot at the right time, not having to think, using his instincts. So I was happy as well. I mean, look, I think we're going to see him get better and better as the season goes on. But look, I can't do anything but tip my hat to him. I felt like he played a heck of a game. Now, what did you think about staying in the secondary? What did you think about when Averett came in? Obviously, we're going to get this a little bit younger or a little bit later, but he went out. He came in and started playing more when Young went out, Tavon Young. But what did you think about his performance?
I was not happy at all early on. I thought they were driving the Texans were driving with the clock running out. They had no timeouts left, Avert lets him easily get a 10-yard out when everyone in the stadium knows they're trying to get out of bounds.
Yep.
He had his body completely turned the opposite direction, giving them the sideline. Just gave it to him and gave him I just don't understand when you don't understand situational football and you're in the pros. It drives me absolutely crazy. And they attacked him. That wasn't the only thing. They kept going after him. He got a penalty. They attacked him. They exposed, which is what teams do when they see a guy like Averitt come in. When he's been, spot play, he'll play here and there, but definitely not consistent. Now all of a sudden he's getting consistent minutes. They went after him, and I'm not going to bag on Averitt because he is what he is. He's not coming in expected to be a number 1, 2, 3, or even 4 here, but he's going to be asked to play a lot now with, the unfortunate injury. He's got to be better because if not, he's going to be the guy they pick on every single game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it makes me a little nervous, but I still think, it's a godsend that we have our third is still Jimmy Smith at the end of the day, right? As far as the depth chart goes, that means a lot. Let's just get into it. We talked about it. We kind of hinted on it. We're going to talk about it here, but I think we best talk about it. Obviously, Tavon Young early in the game. We're not exactly sure, or maybe they are. They just haven't said it yet. Exactly.
He said he doesn't think it looks good. So
yeah. So it's probably going to be a year-ending injury to Tavon Young, second year in a row. Can't do anything but feel bad for the kid. He looked stronger this year, looked physical, looked like he's having a heck of a start to the season. And, hopefully he comes back stronger. And again, right, hopefully he can
this poor guy has spent so much more time in the training room than he has on the field. It's got to be so frustrating because he's such a competitor. He's such a good player. But, man, it's tough. And, let's be honest, it's not something that shocks us now. Maybe it's surprising, I guess, the injury that it was. It's just a knee. Instead of, familiar injury, luckily it's not the neck. That could be a career thing. But, man, it's just frustrating because he's the one guy we talked about before the year. He's the most important corner, in my opinion, on our team just because he's the only natural slot corner. And now Marlon has to go inside where he's still good, but not as good as he is on the outside. So it just weakens a bunch of guys. But the good thing is they're familiar with it. They did it all last year. They were pretty good at it last year. So it's not like it's uncharted territory. A guy that, they're used to seeing in there a lot goes down. Unfortunately for Young, they are used to seeing him not in there. But sad nonetheless. And, Averett's going to have to step up. And it's going to be interesting to see if the Ravens go and grab another corner maybe off the practice squad. Because we mentioned they only broke camp with 5. Last year they broke camp with 7. So they were already thin to start. So now he's gone likely for the year. That leaves him with 4. They're definitely going to at least bring up somebody from the practice squad. The question is, they bring in some outside help as well.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. And I'm nervous about that as well. Let's stay on the topic really quick though, and let's talk about Stanley. I mean, I know he played in there, but in the first half he came up hobbled. Mm-hmm. With the ankle. It seems like it's a nagging thing, the ankle and the hip. I'm nervous for Stanley. I'm nervous about, obviously, like you said, the right side of the line struggled. But, my concern level is pretty high because he doesn't want to miss, but he's not going to have sufficient time to get healthy either. I hope he finds a way to heal and doesn't go through the whole season with these injuries, which would be pretty much impossible, right? Like no one – I think
they do it. It just sucks. I think you're right, man. That's the worry that with a guy that's that big –
Yep.
with lower body injuries, take a while to heal. And so here's the question. It's like, do you sit him all week in practice and then play him with no practice? Or do you try and practice him and hope that you don't worsen the injuries or at least don't, give him any – you want to at least give him some chance to heal. But, yeah, man, it's going to be tough for him because it's just them ankle injuries when you're a 300-pounder. It's just hard to heal. And, yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see, but I have confidence in Stanley. He's a tough guy. He knows his importance. He knows that they need him out there. I mean, without him out there, especially against a Chiefs team next week, would be no good. So I'm confident he'll play, but, yeah, I think you're right. If he has to deal with this injury all year, it sucks for him. It's just going to – any player has to deal with a nagging injury all season. That just stinks. But let me ask you one quick question because there was a play that drove me absolutely nuts. And that was, of course, right before the half. The Texans have no timeouts left. They're trying to get in field goal range to get 3 more points on the board. They get a completion, and then as they're trying to run up and rush up to the line of scrimmage to spike the ball, There's some confusion. Cobb, he's acting like they're holding him down so he can't get up quick enough. Then the ref accidentally kicks the ball. But needless to say, as the clock is clicking down, 3, 2, 1, the white hat stops the clock, informs the scoreboard operator to put it back to 4 seconds, and then they will restart the clock, which, of course, gives the Texans plenty of time to line up, take their time, gingerly spike the ball, and get some 3 points. When that clock was ticking down, they might have gotten it off, but anything could have happened. It could have been a player wasn't set for a full second before the snap. That's a penalty. Maybe one jumps a little early. Maybe it's out of formation. Maybe one's off the line of scrimmage. Anything can happen. The point is the ref took it out of their hands. I've never seen this. The clock is ticking. They blow the clock dead to give them an easy clock spike. I was frustrated. I know Coach Harbaugh was pissed off too.
Yeah,
I don't know how you felt.
He was letting him have it. I was so confused at that point, and I was upset at. I understand that Randall Cobb was. I was really upset that he threw a temper tantrum. I had a kid on my basketball team in 7-8 rec basketball. Every time he would get a rebound, one of my best friends, he would immediately start elbowing people, doing the whole elbow rotation, and just it was really defensive.
Space.
Yeah, but not even necessary. That's exactly what it made me think of. And Randall Cobb's a full-grown man, where we know that, they're going to try and hold you down a little bit. But look, dude, it's part of the game. So, and this is the other thing that I wonder, and I might be saying this because it's the Ravens and it didn't hurt us in this game. But, for example, in a play, if the ball's live, if the ball hits the ref is part of the field, right? Mm-hmm. If a player runs into the ref is part of the field. Okay, so if the ref kicks the ball due to some stupid little scrum and he gets in there and he kicks, isn't he part of the field? Isn't that
he's got to play the ball as it lies in golf?
He's part of the context of the game.
It is. You'd like to not see him kick the ball, but
right. But at the end of the day, we've all had players, running backs, run into the ref, and it's just happen. That sucks.
Yeah, things can just happen, unfortunately. But I didn't like them intervening. And just giving him a free spike. Right. I wasn't a fan of that. Whether he's right in the fact that the ref kicked it and that would have stopped him, but I don't know. I just never seen it, so that's why it frustrated me. But in the end, no harm, no foul. They still get the job done, but frustrating.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a step back here and give me off the cuff here 2 or 3 of your takeaways from this game. These can be positive or negative, as in things that you like to see. How about do this? Give me 2 things that you liked, 2 things that you didn't like that we need to work on.
All right. So the things I like, I think Lamar still played a fantastic game under the circumstances. He was great. Another thing I liked seeing Gus get a lot of run. I like that Harbaugh is true to his word in the sense that you don't know who's going to get the bulk of the carries each week. And I think that's awesome for all the running backs, because if you're Gus and you see another game in which you get rarely used, how enthusiastic are you going to attack this next week's practice? How enthusiastic are you going to go into that game? But if you know, look, this could be the game you get 19 carries. This could be the game you get, could get 5 carries, or you could get 14. I like that he keeps them all involved, and that's 2 things that I really look down. Now, as far as things that they struggled at, it's pretty easy. You got to protect Lamar. You got to protect him. So offensive and defensive line to me, because we got 4 sacks, but we know that Deshaun likes to hold the ball. There were a lot of opportunities to get more sacks that he got out of. How many times he pulled his Lamar impression back there today, because he made a couple guys look silly. Move. Oh my goodness, he made Jihad Ward look pretty silly. He made Pernell McPhee look bad. Now, I understand he's a great talent, but you got to close those sacks out. When you get 2 hands on a guy, you got to bring him down to the ground. Those are the 2. I'd say in the trenches worries me still on both sides of the ball, but Lamar gives you the ultimate confidence.
Nice. All right, so let me give you my 2 things here. One thing that I really liked was, and I'm going to kind of piggyback off what you said, but Lamar played really well, but the thing that I liked is that he fought. He just fought. This game, it was physically exhausting for him, mentally demanding for him. I'm sure there's a lot of times where he kind of felt like it was 5-on-1 when the offensive line just was failing him. Not that they weren't trying, but it just wasn't working. Right. And but he kept fighting. So that really encouraging for me. The second thing that I liked was, and I'm kind of singling out players, but I liked Boykin. I liked the confidence that he showed in him, and I liked that he stepped up and made some big catches. We didn't always have the most confidence in his hands, like his pure catching
Right.
ability. Not that we just hadn't seen it a ton. So that was nice to see. Two things I didn't like. Effort. I talked about it before. There were a couple plays on defense, specifically, Jalen Ferguson, but also I think effort has a lot to do with how you bring Deshaun Watson down. It's about finishing the play. And like you said, I understand it's Deshaun Watson, but go into that game with some context. Know who you're tackling here. This isn't, Joe Flacco, right? He's not a standing statue. This is Deshaun Watson, who is, very similar to young Ben Roethlisberger, right? Like, he's going to be difficult to take down.
Faster. Yeah, he's a fast young Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah, and potentially stronger and more athletic and all these things, right? Like,
definitely
who knows?
more athletic.
Yeah, and so the other thing that I didn't like, in the same vein here, but more specifically is I wasn't a big fan of the lack of usage of Dobbins. I want to see him get in the game a little more. Wasn't a big fan of it. Obviously Gus is like my favorite Raven other than Lamar, and I think he's super underappreciated. But I don't know. I feel like JK, I wanted to get him a little. He only had one reception. I'd like to see him in. And
it was a huge one, huge third down.
Oh my gosh, we needed it, and he pulled it out of his rear end.
I thought he was going to be tackled short. Yep.
And look, like we said, looking like Ray, putting that paw on the ground and still going. I'd like to see more of that.
Yeah.
But as a third thing, I think we both agree on this. We need to get the run game established early. Our identity is in the run. We need to keep it that way early and often.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I like the Ingram play result, the direct snap.
That was cool, right?
It was cool, but I'm not a fan of seeing Lamar lined up as a wide receiver and not catching the ball in the back. Now, it worked, so that's great, but I like Lamar. Now, I mean, a little picky, but it was a nice run by him. I mean, it was completely wide open, but but normally I like Lamar catching the snaps, but in this situation, I admit it, 100% worked, so they looked great. But I just don't like typically seeing Lamar not catch the snap.
Dude,
but let me also
230 pounds. Mark Ingram was the lightest guy close to the line of scrimmage. Right there in the front.
No, you're
right.
He
brought in the extra lineman that had had the one tight end, and then had the Pat on the other side, and then of course you got a big back.
They brought McCarry in too.
Yeah, so the extra lineman. Yeah, that had a lot of meat.
Yeah, and also I want to say shout out to Justin Tucker for just continuing to set the bar as high as it can be set. And really, I bet all the other kickers around the league are just like, tough, man. Quit. He's made 64 consecutive field goals under 40 yards, Jimmy.
Did you hear?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it was making me really mad because the Chiefs-Chargers game went to overtime, and Tony Romo kept calling Buckner.
He said he might be, but let me just say what Bucker did to end that game was phenomenal. He
Yeah,
kicked a 51-yarder. Remember? He makes a 51-yarder. They say, wait a minute, false start. You got to go back. Or it was 53. They said, you got to go back. You got to kick it from 58.
yarder.
Then he buries it, and they go, well, wait a minute. The Chargers called a timeout right before the snap. He had to bury 3 straight 50-plus kicks to bury. No, I know who the best kicker in the league is. It's Justin Tucker. But Bucker put on a show today. That was phenomenal. 2 plus 55-yarders. Come on, man. That was phenomenal.
I'm with you. I just didn't like that Tony was – I think he was
No,
being a little hyperbolic there, Tony. Like, come on.
I tell you what, he might be the second best kicker in the league. That's how good he is, though.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. But the thing about Justin is that I don't think anybody has been put in situations consistently where he needs to kick with volume and difficulty and done it at the highest percentage in the league. I mean, it's incredible.
Oh yeah, and plus over 50, he's on. Nobody's even close to him over 50. Not
so
even
let's end things like this. This is what I want to know, Glenn. If you are John Harbaugh, what are you saying in the locker room? First of all, give me an offensive and a defensive game ball. Mm-hmm. And but on top of that, what's your message to the team? Like, because it was a weird one, right? Mm-hmm.
I think great win. Anytime you win on the road in National Football League, that's awesome, whether there's fans there or not. They had to travel all the way to Houston and take on a pretty good team, a desperate team.
Yeah.
A team that did not want to start 0-2, wanted to at least get a split. I thought it was a phenomenal win. I think he's happy. I think obviously there's work that needs to be done. But, yeah, I think they're probably thrilled. I think offensive game ball, I mean, look, I don't want to I feel bad. Keep giving it. You know what? I'm not going to give it to Lamar this week, even though I think he played a phenomenal. Only because I gave it to him last week. This week I'll give it to Gus. I think Gus set the tone. He was getting. Look, that dude Reed, and not just Reed, but Watt. They were kind of smacking us around a little bit, and Gus came in and was delivering shots back. He was punching them back in their mouth. He ran over a couple guys, and just kind of set the tone. Took the aggression back and so, yeah, Gus gets my offensive game ball. As far as defensive, I got to go give it to Patrick Queen. He was flying all over the place. He was making his presence felt in the pass game and the rush or in the run attack. I liked seeing it. I thought he was phenomenal. I thought he looked good blitzing. So, yeah, I got to give it to him. What about you?
Yeah, so my offensive game ball, pretty easy. Only one play here. But awesome play, and I've never seen a fullback do it. I'm giving it to Project Pat. I just
for
think
one catch for 1 yard.
And look, right. But it was the timing. I really think we needed it at that moment. We needed a score. We needed some momentum. Great catch, great play. So I'm giving it to Pat.
And he was the one who sprung Mark free for Mark's big run.
Right.
It was Ricard that made that happen.
And I loved Mark's celebration, the wheelhouse, the karate kick.
That was awesome.
That was so great. Cool. Just karate kicked the logo, and then he almost tripped over the net. Defensively, I'm going somewhere different here. I'm going with Marcus Peters. I'm going Marcus Peters because, look, and I thought about LJ Fort, too, because, look, we want to be opportunistic.
Phenomenal.
And, man, the way he stretched and
beautiful.
And, he turned that thing into not 3 points, man. He made sure it was getting in the end zone.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. But Marcus Peters, heck of a play. I mean, one of those plays that when you really dissect it, you only see every so often. So that was just incredible. But my message to the team is take the victory. The positives to me is that we found a different way to win, but we got a lot to work on.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they got the defending champions coming next with
we need to be sharp.
The $500 million man leading them. So, yeah, and the Walrus is coming in. He got his fogging issue fixed today.
Yeah.
No fogging. Didn't need the windshield wipers. But, yeah, next week, Sunday Night Football. Let's get it, Raven Nation. Let's do it.
Monday night.
Is it Monday night? I thought it was
Monday
Sunday
night, baby.
Dang.
Yes, sir. Look, this is the other thing I'll let you guys know. We're going to have Tony Thornton on here soon.
Sorry.
Really excited about him coming on. We're also we're gonna get a guest on. We're gonna do our very best to get a guest on from Kansas City. Hopefully that comes through. We're also gonna do our week 2 in.
They got too big. Hold on, they got too big for us so far, Jimmy.
I know. 0 for 3, man. We're batting over 3. 4
over
times
4.
the charm. Oh, for 4. You're right. Jeez, a whiz. But we're gonna try really hard to do that. Also, we're gonna put out our weekly week 2 in review at the end of the week 2, which would be, at the end of the Monday night game. So we'll do that on Tuesday. And then we'll also review our pick'em. It's down to the Seahawks and the Patriots. And so make sure you guys stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, stay up to date, and leave your comments. And like I said, check out the Patreon if you're interested in interacting more with us and the show. It's down in the description below, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya.